Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Motive, Social Motivation for the Creative Class. I'm your host, Tim Fulton, here with Columbus City Council member Elizabeth Brown. Please welcome. That was sustained a little bit, I think.
Oh, wow.
A sustained applause.
I feel honored.
Liz, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us, by the way, immediately after a council meeting tonight and fitting it into your schedule.
Very happy to be here.
For those that aren't aware, who are you?
I am a member of Columbus City Council. I'm one of the newer members. My term just started this January.
Where did you come from?
Prior to that, I worked in economic development for the city of Columbus.
And then before that?
And prior to that, I did various other posts in campaigns and government
This
and
isn't
nonprofits.
normally how the narrative goes. Sorry. Where'd you grow up?
I was born in the Berwick area of Columbus, and I grew up in Granville, Ohio. And are you? Do you want me to talk about my parents? Is that what we're getting at here?
I am aware. I've actually voted for your. No, I'm not. That's not what I'm getting at. But I have voted for your father for United States Senate.
Yeah.
Your father is Sherrod Brown.
Yes.
Just to get it out of the way.
Sure.
Your father has a very gravelly voice.
He does. Yes, he does.
I was in the room standing next to Bradley Whitford when your father gave his acceptance speech for his most recent senatorial campaign.
Yep, 2012.
And he could not speak. Like, he couldn't be heard. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone in the room, everyone had to shush each other in order to hear him, even though he was on a microphone.
Yeah.
Why does your dad talk that way? Is everything okay?
Everything's fine.
Okay.
He's fine, and he's never been a smoker, which I think people would infer by the graveliness of his voice. It's like a vocal cord thing, and it actually gets a little gravelier as he gets older. But that night in particular, he could not speak above a whisper, and he actually blames that on me. I had spent, as I said, I have a background in campaigns and government, and in 2012, I played a big part in all the campaigns in Ohio, including his race. And so it was a really big year for us, father and daughter. We did a lot of work together, and so we were just the family. Watching the Rachel Maddow show, watching election results roll in, and we didn't know his race was going to be called. It's not like we got some heads up. We're watching TV like everyone else, and they call his race, and I like screamed, and he said it just kind of like electrified him, and he jumps up and screams with me, and he said I shot his vocal cords.
Okay.
So he had to whisper his victory speech.
He certainly did. Mm-hmm. Now, so you worked for the City of Columbus Economic Development Office. You actually had submitted before. You put your name in the hat twice for council.
Well, once for an application to be appointed, yes, and then once as a
nominee, correct?
Yes.
So talk to me about sort of what's interesting in Columbus is I think from the outside perceived as sort of this guarded place that you can get to only by being brought in. Mm-hmm. And you put your name in the hat and were not let in. And so talk to me about sort of how that process went the first time around.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of why I initially applied is because I wanted people to understand that this was my passion, right? There are voters whose vote you need to ask for, but then there are also sort of elected and civic leaders around the city, and I put my hat in and applied because this was something I was very passionate about doing, and I didn't know whether I would get it, but it was an opportunity to have that conversation that elected leadership and specifically city council leadership was inspiring to me.
Well, and I think what's interesting, and to your credit, I think if you're going to define an insider, it is a senator's daughter.
Sure.
And that you put yourself out there, and that it didn't work out, and that's absolutely fine. And then other things happened, and another opportunity came along, and you took advantage of it.
Yeah.
Talk about sort of that. I want to give credit where credit is due, and I'm going to go ahead and just put words in your mouth. Over the course of, is it 85 days? Over the course of 85 days, you became a nominee for council. You had a child. You bought a house and moved. Anything else I'm missing?
Eventually won the election
Excuse
in that
me.
85 days, yes.
I'm sorry, I missed that part. You won the election.
Yeah.
What was that? Was that just a whirlwind that it's difficult to even still sort of, this is what it was like? What was it like?
It was, I mean, we ripped the Band-Aid off, my husband and I, just in terms of all the life events you can pack in at one time, which in many ways is kind of smart, right? You know, we get it all done at once. But the experience of it was incredibly special. We're always going to look back on 2015 with a lot of fondness. And for me, the most special part, you know, my daughter came into the world, which was just unlike anything I've ever experienced.
I mean,
Yes.
I'm not a mom,
but
you're 1 month. I'm at 8 months now.
I'm at 7 months. So
Right.
we're 1 month apart.
Right. It's awesome.
It is amazing. And she was 2.5 weeks old on Election Day. And I had just completed something I was really proud of, and I kind of never had to work that hard and put that much on the line. I quit my job to run for office.
Are we talking about the election or the childbirth?
Talking about childbirth,
That
you put a
wasn't
lot on the
easy.
line too, yeah.
Right.
No, but on Election Day, I just felt like I'd quit my job to do this in the middle of being pregnant, and I worked my ass off, and I wondered to myself, am I going to be able to give birth to this baby and do everything I need to do and still also kind of get to this professional goal that I'd set for myself? And it was really remarkable I had my daughter in my Moby wrap on stage when I gave my little victory speech. And that's the kind of emotion that was only exceeded by when I actually gave birth.
I just can't, I know, again, I'm a dad, I can't, it's so scary, and it's so, unfamiliar, and both of those things for you, doing them in that, congratulations,
Well, thank you.
doing that in that course of time.
Thank you.
Now that you're here, what are your intentions, Ms. Brown?
Well, the reason I ran for office in the first place, the reason I quit a really great job that afforded me a lot of opportunity to make an impact on Columbus for another great job is that it affords me the ability to make a much larger impact. And I care a lot about economic development in our community, but fundamentally, I think the most dangerous problem facing our nation and our city is the ever-widening wealth gap. The fact that the zip code you're born into is the most determining factor in what kind of life you'll have, how long that life will be. The place you're born, the income you're born into, determines your educational attainment. Determines your educational attainment later in life, your earning power, whether or not your likelihood of serving a prison sentence. And we've got to solve that, or in 20 years, it's not going to be. I'm not going to be proud to hand this world over to my daughter.
I think there was some criticism that came out of the mayoral campaign and the Associated Council campaign of Coleman's administration focusing on very specifically neighborhoods that they could hold up as trophies. Downtown, Shore North. Towards the end, Franklinton to an extent. I even think in Franklinton some things got glossed over in order to be able to hold up. This is what we can do, and this is what we can do quickly. And what came out of it, I think, is good to sort of say we are a big collection of neighborhoods, and there are a lot of areas of town. What can council, the mayor's office, and everybody involved in the city infrastructure do better to focus on those areas? Or what's a better, is that criticism fair?
Not completely, but
Fair.
there are aspects of it that are true, I'm sure.
What can be done better? What can be done to quell that criticism?
Well, I think that, so neighborhood place-based redevelopment is a partnership proposition. That public money can't do it by itself. That would really be a waste of public money. So we have to find private sector partners, and we have to leverage each other's dollars. So inherently, that does mean that you have to find marketability in certain neighborhoods. Downtown has a lot of interest, a lot of marketability, a lot of market interest by private developers. Now, where that's good for the rest of the city is that we build a vibrant community, and we can grow jobs in that community, and those income taxes that are paid from those jobs help us redevelop the rest of the city. We have more place-based redevelopment that we can be doing in our lower income neighborhoods, absolutely. But another aspect that I think we always need to keep in mind is there's place-based redevelopment, and then there are things we do that lift people up across the city, like universal access to pre-K, we've got to get there. Generally improving our public education system, we've got to get there. If we make a difference on those issues, things like earned sick days, paid family leave, we are helping people in neighborhoods, but it's not a ribbon cutting I can go to, right? It is steady, I hope, change that really impacts how people can get a leg up.
I want to wrap up with just 3 questions. What is Columbus? You can clap for that. That's absolutely fair. What is Columbus doing well? What could it do better at? And what's on the horizon that we need to be thinking about?
Those are big questions, Tim. So one thing we do well is we do collaborate well. I think that we are this incredible, like we're a great size for a community because we're big enough that we have thorny problems and real challenges, but I think they are not intractable challenges because we're small enough that we have a community who can rally around and kind of get things done. I think where we're not quite good enough yet, and I don't know if this is not exactly proper to say, but we don't have kind of like, if you go to Cincinnati or Cleveland, mostly Cleveland, you see like these incredible kind of grassroots agitators, which are like community organizers, right? They're such an important part of the process in any community across the country, and they're like anti-institutional. And Columbus is a town city, kind of built on institutions, state government, OSU, nationwide, a lot of large companies who do great things for our community. But if you have just an institutional mindset, I think you'll lose some people power. So I think we could be better agitators in Columbus.
I totally didn't expect you to say that. And then what's next?
And what's next? Well, what's next is we're about to add a hell of a lot of people to our region, which is really exciting. MORPC at their State of the Region luncheon on Friday revised up the total number of people that they think we're going to see by 2050, which is incredible. And
5 million?
No. From 500,000 to 1 million.
Up in addition to what we currently have.
Growth,
Right.
right. So, and gosh, that means we just have to prepare for so much stuff. Infrastructure-wise, we do a good job, I really think a good job at our roadways in terms of infrastructure, but our bike paths, our sidewalks, ensuring all that walkability, our public transit, really taking it up a level.
Say that last one more time.
Our public transportation.
Public transit.
Public transit.
Public transit.
Public transit.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's all. That's all I got for you, Tim.
Ladies and gentlemen, please thank Elizabeth Brown.
Thank you.